All right, welcome back, everybody. Let's talk about this. Kamala la 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 Harris, cackling Kamala. She had to sit down with Dana Bash. Had to have Tim Waltz there because God forbid she do anything by herself. Honestly, I watched a few clips, but we're gonna go through a bunch of these that I just pulled off of YouTube, and we'll just go through them. I'll give you my opinion. You can let me know what you think. All right, we'll just go ahead and get right into it, and we'll bring the first one up here and see what we got.
Madam Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for sitting down with me and bringing the bus. The bus tour is well underway here in Georgia. You have less time to make your case to voters than any candidate in modern American history.
That's because she was thrust in there without receiving a single vote. All while she backstabbed President Biden, if you can call him that. Anyway.
Voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
She's in the White House now. Let's not forget. Look, all of these are scripted questions. They're scripted answers. It wasn't live, so that they can cut out anything that they didn't like. This isn't. It's not a sit-down interview. It's the first interview Harris and Walz. It's not an interview because it's all scripted and they cut out what they didn't like. This isn't something that they did live like President Trump does all the time. This is scripted questions and answers, and they get to cut out whatever they don't like. Keep that in mind when we're watching this.
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward, in a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation, and I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do day one?
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard.
An opportune economy. Keep in mind she wants to give away $25,000 to home buyers. Paid by who? You can't just give 25 grand away. It's going to up the house prices, increase taxes, and it's not free money. I mean, it's got to come from somewhere. This is how inflation happens, because the Democrats throw free money at everybody because they want to stay in power, and that's how prices skyrocket and inflation happens and higher taxes, and that's how people can't live now, because they just throw free money at people.
Which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families, for example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000.
$6,000 for a child tax credit. J.D. Vance came out and said that, under President Trump and, J.D. Vance's administration, they were going to do $5,000 child tax credit. She came out and tried to one-up them and said, we're going to do $6,000.
$1,000 for families for the first year of their child's life to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one.
What about you?
Well, I'm excited about this agenda, too. As I said, the idea of inspiring America to what can be. And I think many of these things that the Vice President's proposing are things that we share in values. And the child tax credit is one we know that reduces childhood poverty by a third. We did it in Minnesota to have a federal partner in this. Unbelievable, I think, in the impact that we could.
Let's not forget that also in Minnesota, he was the one that signed into law that kids can transition, and the parents don't have to be notified. He pretty much made Minnesota a sanctuary state. Children can go there and transition and not have to tell their parents. Think about an 8 to 10-year-old who wants to transition, just flees up to Minnesota, and their parents have no idea where they're at because he made it a law that they don't have to be notified.
Make.
You talked about, you call it the opportunity economy. You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability. One of your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Honestly, I'm surprised that they even let Dana Bash ask this question, because it's not something they like to talk about, because they've been in the office. Like I said, you're going to hear it a lot from me during this video. She's in the White House now. What's stopping her to try and put forth plans to help the American people right now? Why does she have to wait to get elected?
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. People, I mean, literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump.
Mismanagement by Donald Trump? Look, her running mate, this is the same person that after the pandemic still had businesses and people staying at home after the pandemic. He set up a tip line to narc on your neighbor if they went outside their house. You can't claim mismanagement when the pandemic, nobody knew what it was. It was a novelty virus. Nobody knew how to handle it. And you can't say that you would have done any better. Nobody knows what could have been better, because it was a novelty virus and we don't know what we would have done.
Of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%.
Yes, and they do have it under 3%. But why doesn't she talk about the fact that it was up to 9% during their administration? 9%. Inflation shouldn't go more than 2%. And they had it all the way up to 9%.
A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it. Which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging. What we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years. What we need to do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers, so they can just have enough to put a down payment.
You can't throw free money at people. It has to come from somewhere. Look, the housing market is going to just get even worse. If she gets in and throws this BS deal out there, giving away $25,000 to people for buying a house, all that's going to do is increase the price of the house $25,000. That's it. You think you can't afford it now? Wait till she puts that in place.
On a home, which is part of the American dream and their aspiration, but do it in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
Look, I'm going to tell you right now. People that want to buy a home, I probably said this before. If you want to buy a home and you have to work for it, you scrape every dime you can and you put it together and you work for that down payment in order to buy that house, you're going to appreciate it that much more. If you just go out and buy a house that's pretty much given to you because the government's giving away $25,000 to help you put a down payment on a house, you're not going to appreciate it. It's not going to be worth to you as much as it would be if you scraped and saved and put your heart and soul into, saving up for that down payment on a house. If it's just given to you, it's the same thing with a car. You don't appreciate it unless you've worked hard to obtain it. It's a self pride thing. You take pride in the fact that you've worked hard and able to provide yourself and your family with that home. If it's just given to you, it's different. It's not going to mean the same.
You have been vice president for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%. The work that we have done to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Never happened. We did it. So now,
The insulin thing, that was Trump's baby. Okay, President Trump made that a thing. And then when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris got into office, they got rid of it and then just brought it back and put their names on it. That's all that was. They're taking credit for stuff that President Trump did.
travel in the state of Georgia and around our country, the number of seniors that have benefited. I was in Nevada recently, a grandmother who showed me her receipts. And before we capped the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, she was paying hundreds of dollars, up to thousands of dollars a month for her insulin. She's not doing that any
You
longer.
maintain Bidenomics is a success.
I maintain that when we do the work of bringing down prescription medication for the American people, including capping the cost of the annual cost of
avoiding that
prescription
question.
medication for seniors at $2,000, when we do what we did in the first year of being in office to extend the child tax credit so that we cut child poverty in America by over 50%,
That's
when
not
we
true.
do what we have done to invest in the American people and bringing manufacturing back to the United States so that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, bringing business back to
What about the what was it, 310,000 jobs that were bunk on their report? They were just there one day and then gone the next. What about those?
America. What we have done to improve the supply chain so we're not relying on foreign governments to supply American families with their basic needs.
That's all you do. Your administration shut down the Keystone XL pipeline because they didn't want America bringing its own oil in. They wanted to go back and get it from foreign power. Tell me how you're not outsourcing.
I'll say that that's good work. There's more to do, but that's good work.
I want to get some clarity on where you stand on some key policy issues. Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking.
That's because she couldn't ban fracking, but they did take away a lot of energy sources here in the U.S. And I don't recall her ever not. I don't recall her saying that she was not going to ban fracking, other than recently, because she knows she has to win Pennsylvania, and that's a big thing there.
As president, I will not ban fracking.
She has been for backing. You can find videos all over the place of her saying that she's going to ban fracking, all over the internet. And now she just flip flops on so much crap. It's unbelievable. But like I said, they're scripted questions and answers. So
2019, I believe, in a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes.
I'm
So
surprised she said
it
that.
changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy. What we've already done, creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs. That tells me, from my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, I cast the tie-breaking vote that actually increased leases for fracking as vice president. So I'm very clear about where I stand.
And was there some policy
She didn't have a
or
choice.
scientific data that you saw that you said, oh, okay, I get it now?
What I have seen is that we can grow and we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking.
Okay.
So now all of a sudden fracking's okay, but
And
before
wait-
it was like the worst thing that we could ever do. She never really said what changed her mind on it. I just don't think that's because she doesn't have a point, okay? She's only flip-flopped on it because she knows she has to win Pennsylvania, and she knows she has to cater to Pennsylvania, and it's a big fracking community. Anyway, let's move on to the next one here. There was a lot in that one. Let's see.
When he called you and said he was pulling out of the race, what was that like? And did he offer to endorse you right away, or did you ask for it?
We were sitting down to do a puzzle. And the phone rang.
You believe that? I don't.
And he told me what he had decided to do. And I asked him, "Are you sure?" And he said yes. And that's how I learned about it.
And what about the endorsement? Did you ask for it?
He was very clear that he was going to support me.
I don't know. I don't know what goes on behind the closed doors in the White House, but that seems pretty timid to what all the reports that I've heard. You know, Obama and Pelosi just pretty much pushing him out because he just tanked on the debate stage. So I don't know about that one. That's iffy. Okay, next one. Let's go. Oh, hold on.
My friend Kamala's
Wrong one. Let's see. There we go.
Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border, and because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill. A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. And let me tell you something, the Border Patrol endorsed the bill. And I'm sure in large
I'll
part
have to look
because
at
they
that.
knew
I don't
they
know
were
about
working
that
around
either.
the clock. And 1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any community in America that has
So
been
would a
devastated
wall.
by fentanyl. what passing that bill would have done to address their concern and a pain that they've experienced.
So you would push that legislation again. I just want to
Not
ask
only
about.
push it, I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
Look, I've talked about this before. The border bill that she keeps talking about had, I don't remember the exact number. Don't quote me on it. It was an insane amount. It was something like $60 billion going to foreign powers, and less than 10% of that money, it was like 10 billion of it was going to the border to help the border. You can't call it a border bill when you got 60 billion of the bill going to foreign powers to help foreign aid, and then 10 of it going to the border, which not a penny of it was going for the wall. You can't call that a border bill when the majority of the money in the bill is going somewhere else. You can't call it a border bill. It's ridiculous. She keeps pushing it because it's the only defense that they have on this. It was a ridiculous bill. It wasn't bipartisan, and it had all kinds of money going to Ukraine. That's why it got shut down. Anyway.
When you first ran, there was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized.
Yes, she
Do you
did.
still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws.
I want to say, don't hold me to this, but I want to say that the actual question that was asked was, should we allow people to come in through the southern border? Something to that effect. I don't think it was what Dana actually asked. I could be wrong, though. I'd have to go back and look at it again.
That have to be followed and enforced. I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human.
You're the only one in this race that was put in charge of the immigration crisis in this country and completely failed. You didn't even go down to the border. 4 years. You're in the office now. You're the vice president of the United States. Do something now. She won't.
Human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws. And I
Enforce 20 million illegals that we know of. That's the ones we know of that crossed from the southern border into the United States. Illegal immigrants into the U.S. 20 million that we know of. She's not strong on her border policy at all. She's not. She can talk about her time in California all she wants, but she's been the immigration person for a long time now and hasn't done jack all. She's just let it go because Biden told people to just come on in. She just let it go. You think she's going to do anything different? No, she's not.
I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
When you first.
She recognizes the problem that people see that she has done a terrible job. That's the only reason she's even talking about it. It's ridiculous. I mean, all right, I'm just going to do this last one. All right, I got one more. We're just going to cover this real quick.
I want to ask you about your opponent, Donald Trump.
Okay.
I was a little bit surprised. People might be surprised to hear that you have never interacted with him, met him face to face. That's going to change soon. But what I want to ask you about is what.
Yes, it's going to change very soon. On the 10th, September 10th, they are supposed to debate. She hasn't agreed to the Fox News or the other one. Don't know why. Well, I know why she doesn't want to do Fox. She doesn't have any allies over there. But not that Fox is completely biased towards the right, because they're not. But anyway, she's only agreed to the one. It's supposed to be the 10th. We'll see. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if she didn't show because she's terrible off of the teleprompter. And like I said, this whole question and answers, it's all script. And they've edited it out. It's not live either.
He said last month, he suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any,
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
that's it?
What?
That's it.
She's not going to answer that? I'm surprised they even put that on. She's not going to answer that? She's just going to laugh about it? Same old tired playbook. You're the one that said that you were Indian up until you got selected. And don't get it twisted. She was a DEI hire. Don't take my word for it. Joe Biden said it himself. He hired her because she was a black woman. That's what he said. That's not me. That's him. That's what he said. She's a DEI hire. And before that, she was Indian. So, anyway. And why was Tim Walz there? He just kind of backed her little what kind of policies that she does have, and then that was it. He was just there. Why was he there? Did he really have to be there? Honestly, I thought he would have jumped in more to help her if she started fumbling over her words, but I didn't see him talk, but just right there in the beginning. Anyway, and policy. She still doesn't have policies. She doesn't, other than pushing for legal abortion up to and including birth, and $25,000 for home buyers. That's all. That's it. Oh, she wants to rebuild the middle class, but she hasn't exactly said how she's going to do it. So, kind of a worthless interview, I think. I mean, like I said, it was all scripted anyway, but I didn't learn anything else. I thought this was supposed to be her coming out so we could learn stuff about her. I didn't hear anything different. Nothing. Let me just check before I get off here. I want to double check. And because I like to see it. See if she's got her policies up on her website yet. Okay, donations. Donate. There's her background again. Meet Kamala, meet Tim Walz, take action, store, donate. That's it. Still no policies, no platform, nothing. Nothing. Just joy, and pride, and happy. Tell me one thing that if you like Kamala Harris, tell me one thing that she has done that you actually like. An actual policy. Tell me. Because I have no idea. Anyway, that's all I got for tonight. I appreciate you hanging out. Hope you have a wonderful evening.